Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission here is to take the complex architecture of a modern phenomenon, cut through the noise, and extract the blueprint, the unexpected strategy, the defining trade-offs, all tailored just for you.
And today, we are really getting into one of the most interesting blueprints in modern Hollywood.
We're taking a deep dive into Jennifer Schrader Lawrence, an actress whose career path is, well, it's arguably one of the most uniquely successful and, I think, strategically complicated models we've ever seen.
That is precisely right. I mean, when you look at the exhaustive collection of sources detailing her life and career, the defining characteristic isn't just that she succeeded, it's the sheer velocity and the extreme duality of that success.
Duality is the perfect word for it.
It is. She is the definitive case study in how to be two things at once. She is simultaneously the quintessential high-grossing, multi-billion-dollar action heroine and a highly respected, Oscar-winning dramatic lead known for, career-defining work in these really challenging independent films.
And what makes her story so fascinating is that she somehow managed to achieve this entire polarized status while maintaining a highly praised, relatable, down-to-earth public persona.
Right, which is so hard to do.
Especially when you're starring in some of the most intense, high-art psychological dramas imaginable. I mean, it's a professional tightrope walk few have even attempted, let alone mastered.
So our mission today is to analyze the exact blueprint she followed. We need to understand how she navigated that treacherous, almost unprecedented shift from an independent film darling to a global franchise megastar.
And crucially, how she used that power.
Exactly. Crucially, we have to examine how she leveraged that immense financial status, that brute market power, to gain essential artistic control by moving into production, and finally, how she channeled that celebrity to aggressively pursue social and political activism on the global stage.
We were lucky to get our hands on a deep stack of material for this. It details her life, her career decisions, financial milestones, and her surprisingly powerful public stance from 2006 right up through 2025.
And the central insight we are going to explore is that combination of speed and strategic duality. Consider this for you, the listener. By the remarkably young age of 25, she had accumulated 4 Academy Award nominations.
A feat that usually takes
Decades. And at the same time, the film she headlined had grossed well over $6 billion worldwide. That synthesis of immediate, high-art prestige and overwhelming market force is, frankly, absolutely unprecedented for an actor of her generation.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start right at the beginning, at the surprising catalyst for her career.
So Jennifer Lawrence was born on August 15, 1990, in Indian Hills, Kentucky. Her father, Gary, he was a construction business owner, and her mother, Karen, managed a summer camp.
And understanding this foundational family dynamic is really key because it seems to set the stage for her entire public image of, resilience.
It really does. And the sources highlight she was, in many ways, an unexpected late arrival of the family.
The third child, right?
Precisely. The third child, and her parents truly thought they were finished. They had even gotten rid of the crib. And her late arrival seems to have coincided with a very structured, somewhat strict upbringing, heavily influenced by her mother, Karen.
And Karen's goal was pretty explicit.
Oh, absolutely. Her explicit goal was to raise Jennifer to be tough, which was seen as the only defense against her possibly becoming a diva.
And the interpretation of tough sounds quite literal in her youth.
It was startlingly so. I mean, the sources note that her mother actually refused to let young Jennifer play with other girls in preschool.
Seriously? Why?
She believed Jennifer was too rough and was genuinely worried she might physically harm them. And Lawrence herself, she describes her childhood as being a hyper child, and surprisingly for a future megastar, a misfit. She frequently recalled feeling kind of lonely and grappling with pronounced social anxiety among her peers.
That context makes the next piece of biographical information truly the aha moment of her early life.
It's everything.
Given that internal turmoil of anxiety and feeling like a misfit, she discovered that those deep-seated anxieties just vanished when performing on stage.
It was a profound psychological realization. I mean, performance wasn't just an extracurricular activity for her. It was an active form of psychological relief. It was therapy.
It gave her a sense of purpose.
Exactly. She found acting provided a crucial sense of accomplishment, a feeling she just hadn't found anywhere else. The sources really emphasized that she hated organized team sports, things like cheerleading, field hockey, or even basketball, despite participating in them.
So the structured environment of the stage, ironically, that's what provided the freedom she needed from her own mind.
That's it. And that discovery fueled a total commitment to the path of acting, which led to a moment that solidified her career path and, well, required a staggering personal gamble.
This is the New York trip.
The critical turning point. It happened at age 14 during a family vacation in New York City. She was spotted by a talent scout, the quintessential Hollywood moment.
And the reaction was immediate.
It was. Following her first cold reading, agents were reportedly stunned. They gave feedback that it was the best they had heard from someone so young. This immediate, powerful validation convinced her and her mother of the seriousness of her prospects.
This high-stakes pursuit then led to the defining and really quite drastic decision for a young teenager.
Absolutely defining. At age 14, she dropped out of middle school. She never went back. She never acquired a general educational development certificate, a GED, or a diploma.
She calls herself self-educated.
Right, and to abandon traditional education entirely at such a young age, prioritizing a career with zero guarantees, it shows an incredible, almost reckless degree of self-belief and commitment to the psychological relief that acting provided her.
The sources also mention a brief dalliance with modeling before the acting fully took off.
She did. She briefly modeled for Abercrombie and Fitch, which, it speaks to the early recognition of her photogenic quality. But the photos themselves were never released, which kept the focus firmly on performance.
And her actual career launch was mostly television at first.
It was. It started with a failed pilot, Company Town, in 2006, but she quickly secured guest roles in established shows like Monk and Medium.
And then came the sitcom.
And then a main role in the sitcom The Bill Engvall Show from 2007 to 2009. But what's remarkable is that critics were already seeing the future. Even during her run on that show, the Washington Post had already dubbed her a scene stealer. The momentum was just immediate and undeniable, and it set the stage perfectly for her film career.
Okay, so that phase from 2008 to 2011, this is strategically vital. This is where she builds her artistic capital.
That's the key. She firmly established herself as an actor of, real substance and depth before she pivoted to global action, which is a rare sort of inverted path in Hollywood.
Her early film credits immediately demonstrated that critical weight. She debuted in the indie film Garden Party in 2008, but the same year, she starred in The Burning Plain.
Alongside Charlize Theron and Kim Basinger, no less. And even in that relatively smaller role, sharing a character with an established Oscar winner, she made a huge impact.
This is where she gets the international recognition.
This is it. She won the prestigious Marcello Mastroianni Award for Best Emerging Actress at the 2008 Venice Film Festival. That award alone immediately signaled her arrival on the international art house circuit. It gave her instant credibility.
And critics were noting a maturity that just, belied her age. For instance, in The Poker House in 2008, where she played a teenager grappling with an addicted mother.
Right. In that one, The Hollywood Reporter noted she possessed a touching poise on camera that conveys the resilience of children. And this theme of resilience became absolutely central to her breakthrough role.
And that resilience and depth came to a profound head with the career-defining independent film Deborah Granick's Winter's Bone, released in 2010.
This film is the cornerstone of her prestige status. It essentially put a stake in the ground, showing Hollywood exactly what she was capable of.
For those who might not be familiar with the film, give us a quick breakdown of the role and the intensity of her preparation.
Okay, so she played Ree Dolly, a 17-year-old in the desolate Ozark Mountains, living in extreme poverty. She's desperately searching for her missing meth-dealing father to save her family's home, all while caring for her younger siblings and her mentally ill mother.
And her commitment to the role was absolute.
Total method immersion. She spent a solid week prior to filming just living with the very family the source material was based on, absorbing the reality of their existence.
That kind of preparation isn't about dialogue delivery. It's about physical and cultural embodiment. What specific hard skills did she actually acquire during that week?
She learned survival skills that were essential to that environment. She learned to fight, how to humanely skin squirrels for food.
Skinning squirrels, that's dedication.
And how to chop wood efficiently in the freezing climate. That level of dedication translated into raw, undeniable critical reception. David Denby, writing for The New Yorker, famously declared that the film would be unimaginable with anyone less charismatic in the lead role.
And Peter Travers of Rolling Stone had that one quote that just stuck.
He did. He called her work more than acting. It's a gathering storm.
Yeah.
And that film brought the undeniable accolades. the National Board of Review Award for Breakthrough Performance, and crucially, her first Academy Award nomination for Best Actress.
At the time, she was the second youngest nominee in that category.
So, having now secured herself as a serious, immersive dramatic actor, capable of shouldering a critically challenging film, the sources indicate she immediately sought the precise opposite.
She wanted something less serious.
She wanted to leverage her capital, but also just decompress from the emotional weight of playing Ree Dolly.
And that meant diving headfirst into the superhero industrial complex. In 2011, she took on the role of the shape-shifting mutant Mystique, Raven Darkholme in X-Men: First Class.
A massive strategic move. It was a conscious choice for a big studio project. She had to take over a role that had been previously defined by Rebecca Romijn, which added a layer of expectation. And more importantly, it introduced her to the grueling physical demands of blockbuster production, which contrasted so sharply with the emotional grind of the indie scene.
It's a completely different kind of hard work. The call times alone sound brutal.
Oh, absolutely. The emotional vulnerability was replaced by intense physical endurance. She had to lose weight and practice yoga, but the real challenge was the aesthetics, the 8-hour daily makeup process.
8 hours.
8 hours. It required the application of latex pieces and full-body paint to achieve Mystique's blue, scaled look. And this meant she had to report to set at 2 in the morning just to be ready for an 11 a.m. shoot.
That sounds absolutely torturous, but the strategic value was undeniable.
Completely undeniable. X-Men. First Class was a huge commercial success, grossing $350 million worldwide. It became her highest-grossing film up to that point.
So it achieved the goal.
It did. It secured her large-scale studio work and established her market viability, creating the necessary financial leverage she would need for the next phase. She had successfully bridged the indie prestige gap to the mainstream market.
And that successful bridge led directly into the period of, well, global domination from 2012 to 2015. This is the era where the duality of her career just completely crystallized.
Yes, she's leading the biggest action franchise on the planet while simultaneously collecting those prestige awards.
We have to start with the behemoth, the Hunger Games. She was cast as Katniss Everdeen, the teenage tribute turned reluctant revolutionary heroine. But interestingly, despite being an admirer of the Suzanne Collins novels, she was initially hesitant.
She was.
What was the source of that hesitation? Was it the time commitment or something else?
It was the sheer grand scale of the film.
Yeah.
And, more acutely, the level of unavoidable celebrity that came with leading a franchise of that magnitude. It was an acknowledgement that accepting the role would permanently change her life.
So who convinced her?
According to the sources, it was actually her mother who convinced her to take the part, recognizing the potential impact and reach of the story.
Once she committed, the physical transformation and training she underwent were far more rigorous than anything she'd done for X-Men.
The preparation was intense and comprehensive. It included professional archery training, demanding rock and tree climbing sequences, and specialized hand-to-hand combat instruction. And she suffered notable physical costs.
Right. There were some injuries?
An injury running directly into a wall during early training, and later, during the underwater stunt sequences for the sequel, Catching Fire, she developed an ear infection that led to a brief but alarming loss of hearing. This was a physically costly role, and it really cemented her action hero credentials.
And the commercial results were just explosive.
Absolutely seismic. The Hunger Games in 2012 was a massive critical and commercial success. Critically, Roger Ebert called it effective entertainment, and he noted Lawrence was strong and convincing.
But most importantly for her career blueprint.
The film's success made her, upon its release, the highest-grossing action heroine of all time. The sequel, Catching Fire, remains her highest-grossing film ever, pulling in a staggering $865 million worldwide. I mean, this is market power defined.
The critical synthesis of the Hunger Games role is particularly insightful because Manohla Dargis of the New York Times drew this striking parallel. She compared Katniss's journey from reluctant participant to full-blown rebel leader to Lawrence's own massive, unexpected rise to stardom.
It really became less about acting and more about embodiment. Dargis noted that Lawrence now inhabits the role as effortlessly as breathing. She wasn't just playing a character, she was living the experience of sudden, powerful celebrity, which mirrored Katniss's accidental rise to icon status.
And yet, while she was leading the world's biggest franchise, she was simultaneously dominating the major awards circuit for 3 consecutive years through her intense, fruitful collaboration with the director, David O. Russell.
This is the most powerful example of that career duality. It's just incredible.
Okay, let's meticulously break down this Russell streak, starting with Silver Linings Playbook in 2012.
She played Tiffany Maxwell, a complex, troubled young widow who enters this chaotic relationship with Bradley Cooper's character. And Russell initially thought she was too young for the part, which is a detail that often gets overlooked.
So what changed his mind?
Well, Russell, who has a reputation for an intense directorial style, was ultimately convinced entirely by Lawrence's raw talent during a convincing Skype audition. She was just profoundly drawn to Tiffany's complicated nature. The character was messy, bullheaded, but fundamentally uninsecure.
And the performance was celebrated. Richard Corliss of Time magazine called her that rare young actress who is grown up.
And the result was immediate coronation. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress at the age of 22, making her the second youngest winner of the category's history.
So that's an Oscar on the mantelpiece while her face is plastered on billboards for a global action movie? Unbelievable.
And she kept the momentum going immediately. The following year, 2013, she took a supporting role in American Hustle as Rosalind Rosenfeld, the neurotic and volatile wife of a con artist.
What was her preparation like for that one?
Remarkably simple. She just watched films and TV shows from the 1970s. She minimized formal research, relying instead on observation and her instinct.
And she was famously celebrated for her improvisation within that film.
The sources specifically highlight her improvisation during a key scene. The aggressive, spontaneous kiss she gives Amy Adams' character, the Mistress.
Right.
Her performance earned her the Golden Globe and the BAFTA for Best Supporting Actress. This third nomination made her, at that moment, the youngest actor in history to accrue 3 Academy Award nominations. Think about the psychological pressure of that kind of unparalleled success.
And the awards freight train didn't stop. It just rolled right into 2015 with their third collaboration, Joy.
In Joy, she was tasked with portraying the true story of businesswoman Joy Mangano, the inventor of the Miracle Mop. This role secured her 3rd Golden Globe win and, critically, her 4th Oscar nomination.
Which cemented her status as the youngest person ever to achieve 4 nominations.
Right. Critics still generally praise the performance, with Richard Roeper calling it her strongest work since Winter's Bone.
We do have to address the reported volatility during this specific production, though. It speaks to the intense creative environment. There were reports of a public disagreement, even a screaming match between her and Russell.
And it speaks to the boundaries, or lack thereof, within that specific partnership. Lawrence addressed the intensity directly. She stated that the conflict was simply a function of their close friendship, saying, "People fight when they really love each other."
So it underscores that while the artistic results were phenomenal, the process was creatively intense and often high friction.
Exactly. So we've now established this stunning pinnacle. She was the global box office champion and the prestige darling, all before she even reached the age of 26.
Okay, so following that incredibly intense period, the exhaustion of the Russell collaborations, and the end of the core Hunger Games saga, we see this necessary strategic pivot in her career.
We do. This period, from 2016 onward, is characterized by some mixed commercial results, high artistic risk, and ultimately, her seizing full creative control as a producer.
Let's begin with the financial pinnacle of her career, 2016's Passengers. The sources indicate she was paid a reported $20 million for the sci-fi romance.
And, notably, received top billing over her co-star, Chris Pratt. That salary established her immediately in the rarefied air of Hollywood's highest earners.
But the film itself?
The film met with critically underwhelming reviews, despite its initial promise. She initially defended it, describing it as a tainted, complicated love story, but later expressed public regret over starring in the project.
So she was paid extraordinarily well, but many critics suggested Passengers was a massive waste of her unique talent. How do the sources help us understand the strategy behind taking a $20 million paycheck for a project she later publicly regretted?
It's the definition of accumulating leverage. That $20 million paycheck, earned off the back of the Hunger Games goodwill, granted her maximum financial independence. It meant that every subsequent project could be a creative choice, not a necessity.
It bought her freedom.
It bought her the freedom to then dive into truly experimental, challenging territory, like Darren Aronofsky's grueling psychological horror, Mother, in 2017.
That role sounded physically and mentally draining, even by her standards.
It was uniquely demanding. She spent 3 months rehearsing, which was atypical for her observational acting style. And during filming, The emotional intensity of the role proved so severe that she hyperventilated to the point of dislocating a rib.
They had to bring oxygen on set for her.
Supplemental oxygen, yes. The film itself polarized audiences violently, prompting mass walkouts and garnering an infamous F Cinema score. And yet, critics universally praised her raw, committed performance. It showed she was willing to take massive artistic risks with her leverage.
In 2018, she returned to the spy thriller genre with Red Sparrow, playing a Russian operative. This also required significant physical and technical commitment.
It did. She committed fully, learning a Russian accent and undergoing 4 months of intensive ballet training. But what is truly fascinating about Red Sparrow is the personal context she brought to the role's sexuality.
She had been a victim of that traumatic 2014 nude photo leak incident.
Exactly. So having been exposed to that brutal public violation, she found herself challenged by the explicit sexuality and nude scenes required in Red Sparrow. However, she later stated that performing those scenes ultimately made her feel empowered.
How so?
She viewed it as a way of reclaiming her agency and her body from the violation she had suffered. She was turning a painful personal experience into a source of professional strength.
Her franchise commitments finally wrapped up with Dark Phoenix in 2019, her fourth and final X-Men appearance, which regrettably was both a critical and box office failure.
And that failure, coupled with the mixed reception to her previous films, led directly to a crucial hiatus. She took a small break from acting.
Why then?
She was driven by feeling genuinely unsatisfied with the quality of some of her recent films and, importantly, a desire to step away from the intense scrutiny of the media. She explicitly stated she wanted to focus on her domestic life.
That break lasted until 2021 when she returned in Adam McKay's apocalyptic black comedy Don't Look Up.
And that return signaled the immediate reset of her commercial value. She was reportedly paid $25 million for the Netflix film, co-starring with Leonardo DiCaprio.
So her market power hadn't diminished at all.
Not one bit. That salary is proof that her market power, even after a hiatus and some mixed reviews, remained at the absolute pinnacle. The film itself was a phenomenon. As the two astronomers trying to warn a skeptical world about an extinction-level comet, the film set a staggering Netflix record for the most viewing hours in a single week, over 150 million hours. Wow. And while the overall reviews for the film were mixed, her individual performance was consistently praised, described by one critic as a powerhouse and a delight to watch.
But the truly defining shift of this era is her transition into being a creative architect. She established her production company, Excellent Cadaver, back in 2018.
The name itself, Excellent Cadaver, is significant. It's a literal translation of a phrase referring to an especially high-profile, perhaps politically convenient, assassination in Italy. By choosing that name, she signaled that her company would not be afraid to tackle material that is politically charged, critically complex, or emotionally difficult.
It marked her shift from an actor for hire to someone in complete control of project development.
And we immediately saw the fruits of that control with her critically acclaimed resurgence. Causeway in 2022 is the perfect example.
Right.
She co-produced the film and starred in it as a soldier recovering from a debilitating brain injury. Critics lauded it as a successful return to form, comparing its intimate, character-driven focus favorably back to her indie roots in Winter's Bone. She was using her company to produce the kind of meaningful, small-scale prestige drama that first earned her fame.
She also demonstrated that her control extended across genres, proving that Excellent Cadaver wasn't just limited to prestige drama.
Exactly. In 2023, she starred in and produced the successful raunchy comedy No Hard Feelings, earning another Golden Globe nomination for her sharp comic timing. This confirms her ability to deliver high-quality, profitable studio comedy, all while maintaining creative oversight.
And her strategic pivot culminated most recently in 2025 with the psychological drama Die My Love, which she produced and starred in, premiering at Cannes.
This performance, playing a single mother experiencing severe mental health issues, garnered immense acclaim. It was hailed as volcanic, yet simultaneously controlled. It was a massive statement of her renewed artistic commitment and independence, resulting in her being honored with the Donostia Award at the San Sebastian International Film Festival.
Making her the youngest recipient in the award's history.
Yes. So this whole period, it just shows a deliberate, aggressive move toward dictating her own creative narrative and maximizing the quality of her output, backed by the financial muscle she accumulated earlier.
Now that we've mapped the career timeline, let's zoom out a bit and analyze the core pillars of her identity. Her artistry, her sheer market power, and her rapidly evolving role as a public conscience and activist.
Beginning with her artistry, one of the most surprising facts, and one that perhaps explains the raw quality of her performances, is that she never formally studied acting. She's never been involved in professional theater.
That is extraordinary given her accumulation of accolades. If she didn't use formal training, what does she cite as her primary method?
She describes her method as entirely reliant on the observation of people around her. It's an organic approach that seems to work best when she can deeply inhabit the world of the character. But what's truly fascinating is her psychological relationship to the intense roles she takes on.
She's famously detached.
Explicitly so. She stated she does not invest any of her real emotions or take home any of her character's pain. This boundary is essential for someone who is playing characters dealing with poverty, grief, physical trauma, and mental illness.
She drew a very clear line.
She did. She asserted that if she ever felt the need to compromise her sanity to make a part better, she wouldn't do it, adding that she would just do comedies instead.
That level of self-awareness is key to maintaining longevity in Hollywood, which is known for burning out its brightest stars.
And that professional detachment is mirrored in her highly successful public persona. She is consistently described as down-to-earth, self-deprecating, and unaffected. Director Adam McKay, who worked with her on Don't Look Up, captured it perfectly. He called her a strong, funny truth-teller, adding, "No one has more beautiful anger than Jen."
This persona of being the reluctant, uncocky star is so central to her appeal. It helps diffuse the massive celebrity surrounding her.
It does. She openly calls acting stupid in comparison to life-saving professions like doctors or teachers. She suggests she consciously avoids being cocky or self-important about her accomplishments. It is a strategic mechanism to manage the immense public scrutiny she faced at her peak.
And the market power at that peak was staggering. We really need to remember the financial figures she demanded.
Her financial influence was immense. She was named the world's highest-paid actress for 2 consecutive years, 2015, $52 million, and 2016, $46 million. This financial power placed her squarely in the global culture conversation.
The Time 100 list, Forbes.
She appeared on Time's 100 Most Influential People list in 2013 and consistently ranked on the Forbes Celebrity 100 list between 2013 and 2016.
That financial clout, as we discussed, bought her independence, but it also cemented her relationships with luxury brands.
Indeed. Her market power is intrinsically tied to her long-standing role as a celebrity ambassador for Dior. She frequently wears the brand to major red carpet events, including a custom Dior bridal gown for her own wedding in 2019. These lucrative affiliations are part of the ecosystem that allows her to finance her passion projects.
But let's talk about the sharpest pivot she's made, finding her political voice and leveraging that market power for genuine activism. This is where her biography becomes so complex and truly modern.
Her political journey is rooted in a fundamental shift from her Kentucky upbringing. She was raised by conservative Republican parents and, in fact, voted for John McCain in the 2008 presidential election.
When did that shift begin, and what catalyzed her realization that her views no longer aligned with her family's historical politics?
The sources suggest the shift began as her career expanded globally, taking her outside of her immediate social bubble. She came to the conclusion, as she put it, that voting Republican was voting against her own rights.
And by 2015, she was vocal about it.
Very vocal. She was strongly opposing Donald Trump's presidency, going so far as to state that his election would be the end of the world. She actively endorsed Joe Biden in 2020 and became a consistent voice for progressive issues.
She is also fiercely outspoken on gender issues, identifying as a feminist and clarifying that for her, the concept just means equality.
And the most powerful public use of her voice in this area came in 2015, leveraging her financial position to write a blistering essay for Lenny Letter.
This was a crucial piece of activism.
In the essay, she criticized the pervasive gender pay gap in Hollywood, revealing that she had only found out after the fact that she had received lower pay than her male co-stars on American Hustle.
And she was very candid about why she thought that happened.
She was. She wrote that she felt she had failed to negotiate effectively because she worried about being perceived as difficult or spoiled. She openly admitted she was angry at herself for folding so easily, recognizing the internalized sexism that had inhibited her negotiation. This was a significant risk, leveraging her immense stardom to discuss the specific topic of financial inequality.
Her activism has only broadened since then, moving from Hollywood economics to crucial social and political rights.
She is a highly visible supporter of the LGBTQ+ community, even using humor to recount a story at the 2024 Gilad Media Awards about how she tried to convert her first love, who was gay, to underscore the sheer ineffectiveness and toxicity of conversion therapy.
And her advocacy for reproductive rights has been incredibly public and personal, weaving her private struggles into her political platform.
In 2021, while pregnant, she attended the rally for abortion justice in Washington, D.C. She was holding a sign that read, "Women can't be free if they don't control their bodies."
And she went a step further.
She did. She demonstrated her commitment by serving as an executive producer for the 2024 documentary Zorowski v. Texas, which focuses on the devastation caused by anti-abortion laws in the state.
Most recently, in 2025, she used a press conference for her new prestigious film, Die My Love, to deliver highly critical global commentary.
This was a massive public risk for her career. Despite the festival moderator actively trying to steer reporters away from political questions, Lawrence seized the moment. She described the conflict in Gaza as no less than a genocide and expressed how the situation terrified her.
And she didn't stop there.
No. She voiced profound sadness over the polarization of American political discourse and the normalization of politicians lying to children. This shows her absolute commitment to using her platform, regardless of the potential professional cost.
This high-profile activism is coupled with substantial, structured philanthropy and political governance work.
Right. She formalized her charitable efforts by founding the Jennifer Lawrence Foundation in 2015, supporting organizations like the Boys and Girls Clubs of America and the Special Olympics. On a local level, she donated $2 million to Corsair Children's Hospital in Louisville to establish a cardiac intensive care unit named after her foundation.
And perhaps most importantly,
she is an active board member of Represented S, a major nonprofit organization focused on passing anti-corruption laws in the United States. So she is using her visibility, financial power, and governance role for tangible political and structural change.
So to complete the picture of Jennifer Lawrence's unique career anatomy, we need to touch upon her personal life, specifically how several private challenges were made brutally public, which further shaped her perception of fame and privacy.
Okay, let's briefly address her spiritual outlook, which seems reflective of her philosophical detachment.
She's not religious.
She describes herself as spiritual, but deliberately rejects the labels of religious or atheist. She admitted that, due to her Christian upbringing, she still prays out of habit like during an airplane engine failure, but she clarified she prays just not to anyone specific. It's an acknowledgement of tradition without rigid dogma.
In terms of relationships, her timeline is intertwined with her biggest roles.
It is. She dated her X-Men, first-class co-star Nicholas Hoult from 2010 to 2014, and later dated her mother, director Darren Aronofsky from 2016 to 2017. She ultimately married art gallery director Cook Maroney in 2019.
And they try to maintain a private life.
They do. They split their time between Lower Manhattan and Beverly Hills, attempting to balance privacy with her demands as a working superstar.
The most brutal private challenge that was made public was the 2014 nude photo leak, where numerous private pictures were unlawfully posted online.
Lawrence's public response was immediate and incredibly powerful. She publicly condemned the leak, calling it unequivocally a sex crime and a sexual violation. She stressed that the photos were only intended for Holt.
She turned the shame back on the viewers.
She did. She expressed shame and anger not at herself, but for those who viewed the images, calling them perpetuating a sexual offense. Her response reframed the discussion around celebrity privacy and digital security, highlighting the intense pressure and violation she experienced even at the absolute zenith of her fame.
And finally, the sources reveal painful, deeply personal details regarding her pregnancy history, which is now woven into her platform of reproductive advocacy.
She publicly disclosed that she became pregnant in her early 20s and had made the decision to plan an abortion, but she subsequently suffered a miscarriage while she was in Montreal.
And there was a second miscarriage.
Yes. Later, she suffered a second miscarriage while filming Don't Look Up, which required a medical procedure known as a D&C, a dilation and curettage procedure, which is a common surgical procedure following a miscarriage.
Those deeply personal, painful disclosures, juxtaposed against her public commitment to reproductive rights, connect her private struggle directly to her political advocacy.
They absolutely do. She gave birth to her son, Cy named after the American artist Cy Twombly, in February 2022, and welcomed a second child in 2025. These disclosures are part of her blueprint. She utilizes the vulnerability gained from her private life to fuel her public mission.
So we have tracked Jennifer Lawrence's career arc from a hyper-anxious kid in Kentucky to a global megastar who commands $25 million per picture, runs her own production company, and openly defies powerful political figures, both domestic and abroad.
And the essential takeaway for you, the listener, is the blueprint for mastering duality. Lawrence didn't just succeed in two fields, she maximized power in both,
She became the action heroine face of over $6 billion in worldwide gross.
while simultaneously achieving high critical acclaim, resulting in a record-breaking 4 Oscar nominations by the age of 25. Her success provides a definitive modern model for leveraging market power into artistic freedom and, crucially, massive social influence.
She achieved true career power. And that's demonstrated by her ability to launch excellent Cadaver and aggressively push for social and political causes, whether that's fighting for pay equity in Hollywood, championing reproductive rights, or offering unvarnished, critical global commentary on conflicts.
Right. She didn't just survive Hollywood's pressures. She strategically optimized the entire system for her own ends.
She used the guaranteed immense financial freedom earned from the spectacle of Katniss Everdeen to fund smaller, challenging, meaningful films like Causeway.
And political action through organizations like Represent Felicia. She used the visibility to force conversations about inequality and the most painful aspects of global conflict and national politics.
And this brings us back to where we started our conversation. The sources reveal that Jennifer Lawrence found acting to be a psychological cure for her childhood anxiety and loneliness. It provided her with that crucial sense of accomplishment.
Yes, initially, performance was a shield and a source of profound personal peace for her.
So, given her profound success and the intensity of her public activism, here is the provocative thought for you to consider. What happens when the very thing that erased her anxieties, acting and performing, becomes the platform for confronting her greatest political fears?
That's a powerful question.
When she publicly describes the conflict in Gaza as no less than a genocide and says it terrified her, is she shifting her primary role from simply a performer to a powerful public conscience? And if so, does that act of speaking out, of using her stage to confront global disquiet, ultimately redefine the value of the accomplishment she originally sought? Is that the new metric of success for generational talent? Something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.